And welcome everybody to a bouquet of drivers, okay? Occasionally I get questions about used drivers. Well, what should I look for? What should I avoid? Let's talk about it real quick. These are all my opinions. This is purely to help you, okay? So take whatever you want away from this video, but ultimately your opinion is more important than my opinion. And I would encourage you to read the comments because there'll be good advice down there, probably mixed with some bad advice, but you read the comments. So what are you looking for? Well, that's the first question, all right? It's like, are you new to golf? You just want to try out golf? You just want your first driver to take to the range and hit a few balls? See if you even like golf. Why would you spend $500 on a driver if you're not even sure if you're going to stick around with this game of golf? I get it. So we're going to talk about entry level trying golf, all right? And then we're also going to talk about, you're looking for a gamer. You've tried golf, you like it, you have a friend, you have friends that you go golfing with. Now you're looking for a replacement driver for your first driver. How can you get a reasonable used driver? We'll talk about that. But first, we're going to talk about things to avoid. In no particular order, I would watch for shipping costs. Shipping costs on eBay can be astronomical. So be sure you sort from lowest price to highest. It'll be lowest price plus shipping to highest. That way you can mask some of these. It's like I've seen ridiculous things where it's like $200 for shipping. And you're like, oh, a $30 driver, that's not bad. And you look at shipping, you're like, no, sir. So beware of shipping costs. Another thing I personally would avoid are adapters that are obsolete. If you're looking for an adapter driver with a neck adapter, with a hosel adapter, and you find one and you're like, oh, that shaft isn't that good, but maybe I can replace it. An obsolete shaft adapter can be very hard to replace. Adapters are incredibly useful, but if you're unsure, check the manufacturer's website and maybe avoid the obsolete adapters. Next, I would say watch out for bad grips. Grips, you can see this one's wrapped, which will work for a driving range session. But after 18 holes, this wrap is worn and torn. It's like a tennis wrap, right? So like you've seen the tennis wraps that they start peeling and falling apart after not long. So maybe look for a good grip. If you can find one with a good grip versus one with a bad grip and they're the same price, buy the one with the good grip. Why not? Everything else being equal, shafts and everything and the condition of the club. Another thing that I would encourage you to do is avoid off-brands. If it's not made by a big brand name in the last 20 years, avoid it. We'll talk about the brands here in a minute. But if you see something like titanium matrix by some brand that you've never heard of, it means it's aluminum. So it won't have the distance you want, it will sound terrible, it'll be really loud, and it won't have any durability. Paint will be flaking off of that thing. I've had very bad luck with aluminum heads that say titanium matrix on them. And finally, be careful with low spin models. This is a Callaway Max, an Epic Max LS low spin model. My swing speed's only 100 miles an hour, okay? If you know that you're really good and you can strike the ball consistently and you know exactly what you're looking for, get into an LS model, if that's what you want. But for everybody else, especially if you're new, even if you have a fast swing speed, LS models are very unforgiving and require a lot of swing speed to even get enough spin on that ball to give it a good flight, okay? So please consider, even though they may be cheap, there's a reason why they're cheap. You might want to avoid low spin models if you're brand new to golf, or if you don't have a fast swing speed, or if you're looking for forgiveness, or if you want to fit in with the cool kids. I'm kidding about the cool kids. So those are my tips for things to watch out for, not necessarily to avoid, just things to watch out for, and be careful when you're shopping for a used driver. So let's talk a little bit about the first segment and the first class of drivers that I'm going to talk about. You're trying out golf. Okay, so I'm calling it the trying golf segment. You just want something for around $50 so you can take to the range with your buddies or your friends and they can give you pointers. You have something to hit at the range to see if, hey, is golf something I'm going to be good at? Is it going to be something I enjoy? All right, so let me grab a few drivers here and let's talk about it. So the trying golf segment is different from other groups because this might be a driver that you use once. You take it to the range and you might just hate it and say, golf is not for me. I want to get out of this, right? So you spend $50 on a driver. You can sell it on eBay. You'll get 40 or $50 back for it. These are used, they're not going to depreciate much in the next 6 months. Okay, so you're pretty safe buying something like this in and out, not too much cost. So if you like it, it might be the same thing. It might be one session at the range. You go, you hit it, you're like, I love this. Your friends are like, come golfing with us. And you might get out of this real quick and go buy something nice, get custom fit. You might be natural, just a natural golfer and go get custom fit. Go buy a brand new driver if that's in your budget and that's what you want. Okay, so this is just trying golf. So I like to keep it around $50. For some people, it'll be much less. For some people, it'll be more. So let's talk about kind of the entry level. Generally, I point to the larger brands, right? Callaway, the Pings, the TaylorMades, this is a Ping G2. Back in the day, Cleveland made some nice big drivers that give you the feeling of a large titanium driver, which represents modern drivers very well. Representative, it won't compete with the adjustable neck, shaft technology, even grip technology and sizing, but it's a good place to start. If you can hit this and you enjoy hitting this, you'll enjoy hitting the latest, greatest drivers that come out from the big brands. And these are genuine titanium, not aluminum like off brands. Okay, so these are some examples. You don't have to get these, but they're very cheap. These were sold in mass. These are one of the most popular drivers. The Cleveland Launcher 460. Great place to start. You want to go to the range and hit some golf balls for the first time. It competed directly with the Ping G2. You'll notice these don't have adjustable necks. They're very simple. You know, you can wrap the grip with a tennis over wrap if you want. That's what I do here. You know, just it'll last a range session. I wouldn't play 18 holes with it, but you can replace the grip or just throw a wrap on it. Ping G2 also, tons of them sold, very common, and they're not too expensive. Moving on to some other ones that aren't too expensive. This is a TaylorMade 580. I think I have the 580XD here. For the purposes of just going to the range, these work fine. They're a little smaller than 460, but when you compare 460cc is the max size of a driver head. Okay, so cubic centimeters, 460cc. You compare the face of these things, and they're pretty close. So even though there are like 440 or 400 cc's, you know, 420 cubic centimeters is pretty close to 460. The face difference won't be that much. The forgiveness will be similar. So you can find these, again, these were sold. These were so popular when they came out, the 580, 580XD. If you can find one of these for cheap, they perform pretty well. So TaylorMade, Ping, Cleveland from the early 2000s are great. Callaway has a long history of making some really good clubs. The Big Bertha series have been very forgiving. Great Big Bertha Epic, Great Big Bertha Epic Max, we'll talk about later. Those are a little bit more pricey. Some of the older Callaways are great. The Callaway Great Big Bertha 2, Callaway X 460 right here. This is pretty forgiving. It's reasonable. It will get you started into golf and trying to realize, some of you it might just be natural. Some of you might realize using something like this, golf is a little more complicated for some people than others. So Callaway is a great brand. Look for the large titanium heads. Here's another Cleveland example, the Cleveland Launcher, and this is the Cleveland High Bore XL. This has a huge footprint, big face, very forgiving. It's very simple. This is something that you can just take to the range. You don't have to think about it. Just work on your swing, get that right, and go from there. This is the last one. I want to talk a little bit about when you're just starting out in golf, kind of where to start. For a lot of people, and this isn't custom fitting, but this is just bell curve. Like, these golf companies do research, and most men who are going to be golfing kind of have this bell curve of like what loft works best for them. A lot of them fit in right around the 10.5 degree loft. Okay, so you'll see a little loft number here, and sometimes it's confusing. What do I look for? 10.5 is kind of where the average falls. Now, I know a lot of people out there are not average. A lot of my viewers won't be average. They'll have really fast swing speeds or really slow swing speeds, and then it goes from there, right? So generally speaking, this is all general. When you're starting out, the more loft will give you a little bit more forgiveness, and it's geared more towards slower swing speeds. Whereas lower lofts are generally geared for faster swing speeds. So if you're brand new to golf, 10.5 or 11 degrees, 11.5 is a reasonable place to start. But once you figure out your swing and you're more comfortable, you might be swinging a lot faster. Maybe you should move to a 10.5, 9.5, 9 degrees. Okay. That's kind of where, the bell curve, you're going to get the most population are going to fall in to those lofts, which is why you're going to see so many 10.5, 9.5, 10 degree, 9 degree drivers. I would stick to that range. And as far as shafts go, personally, I have no problem with a regular shaft. I kind of start there, regular shaft. If you feel like it's a little too flimsy, maybe try a stiff shaft. Or if you feel like it's too stiff, maybe move to a light flex and go from there. So again, it's one of the reasons why a lot of people starting out in golf don't want to spend a lot of money is because they just want to get a feel for it. Other things that you will pay attention to: how loud is the driver? How does it look at address? Is it shiny and glary and you're just like, I can't see because the sun's out and I'm blinded by the surface of my driver? That's why a lot of them are matte black or black. Also pay attention to your shaft length, your shaft flex, your grip. Do you feel like you need a bigger grip? A more firm grip? All those things are things that you can pay attention to while you're out on the range trying out golf. So those are some tips. And again, all my opinion, I'm skipping a lot of stuff, trying to keep this video short. Read the comments. There'll be tons of good advice down there. Let's talk about gamers. All right, with gamers. First, we're going to talk about where to buy your driver. You're looking for a used driver. I'd recommend going to retail locations first. Down south, I know Edwin Watts. I've been there. Great selection. Very reasonable prices. Played Against Sports can be really good. For me personally, PGA Tour Superstore here in Wisconsin has been very good and very competitive. My local Played Against Sports, not so good. They put a price on something and then after 3 years, it's still that same price. And you're like, is that driver really selling for $250 still? Is that really the right price for that driver? So it all depends on where you are. So on your location, write in the comments below where you would go to a retail location, a physical brick and mortar store to buy a driver. I'm going to define gamers as stuff made in the last 15 years with an adjustable neck, right? They kind of started in 2009, 2010 with the adjustable necks, and the technology hasn't progressed that much. I'd say it's marginal, but any marginal gain you can get is good, right? So if you want to go out and buy a custom brand new driver, custom fit, do it. All right. If that's in your price bracket and you're willing to do that, that's your golf game. Go do it. But this is the used buyer's guide here. So what are we looking for? The first thing I would encourage you to do is get the shaft you want. Don't let this, it has a replaceable shaft. I can just unscrew this screw right here and take the shaft off and replace it with another one. I found, especially with obsolete necks, okay, so this Cobra amp cell, they look so cool. The first one I bought was gray and it came with an L flex, a light flex. And I hit it a few times and I was like, this is not working for me. So I tried to find a new shaft. I ended up buying just a new driver because it was cheaper than buying a shaft because they stopped making the adapters. I was just like, seriously? So that one just was back on eBay, get rid of it. So now I have this one, okay? So just get the shaft you want in it, even though it has a replaceable, adjustable neck on it, okay? Please. It will save you some money and some time and some headache. Now, I'm not talking to the hobbyists who are out there. Well, I want to build my own shaft. I install my own grip because I can get it perfect, and I'm going to install my own adapter. I'm not talking to those people. If you're custom building your clubs, you know what you're doing. You don't need my advice, okay? So here's a Titleist driver. This is a 2010, one of the first adjustable neck driver where you can take the shaft off. These shafts still work with modern drivers. So their latest drivers work with this same shaft. You can pull it out and move it to the next one. So Titleist has been very good and very consistent with their neck adjustability and their consistency. So I love that. Nike is a brand that I get asked a lot about. You have to know exactly what you're getting into with Nike. Everything in Nike is obsolete when it comes to equipment. They no longer make these clubs. They don't support these clubs. They don't make the adapters. I mean, they can be hard to service. So if you know what you're getting into, if you're going to be a Nike collector, which I consider these more of a collector than a gamer. Like here's an M5. If you want some adjustability, you can find these for, in my experience, under $150. But it changes depending on the month. So when you're watching this, let us know in the comments below if you can get these around 150 or less. The M5 is, I personally like the M6 a little more. The M5 is a good driver. TaylorMade represented very well in the Masters in 2019 when Tiger Woods won the Masters in 2019 with the M5. Remember, reputable place, check shipping, get what you want, especially with the shaft. I hope that helps somebody out there. This is just some guy talking about golf clubs. I have a few drivers. I've hit a few drivers. Pick the brand you like, pick the look you like. Go with that as long as it's in your price range. eBay is a great place to kind of compare. And lots of times, brick and mortar stores will have just a better product. Lots of times they'll replace the grip. They'll put on a real grip, like a new grip. And you can actually inspect the club and make sure there's no hidden damage. I have ordered things online before where they show up and I'm like, oh, the crown is broken. It's exploded. This has zero value and it was disguised in the photos. Whatever you choose to play and whatever you choose to purchase, let us know in the comments below. I hope this was helpful to somebody out there, kind of give you some direction. Ultimately, get what you want. A huge shout out to my patrons. Thank you everybody for your support. Thank you to everybody who shops on my Amazon shop. I'll put a link in the description below. I have some golf accessories and things on my Amazon shop. Please check that out. I am an Amazon associate. I make proceeds from qualifying purchases. That's how it helps out this channel. If you enjoy this content, please subscribe. Thank you everybody for watching. I am The Vintage Golfer.